All right, here we go with section 2. There's the focus question. The Revolution also expanded religious freedoms. Although a few colonies, such as Rhode Island and Pennsylvania, tolerated different religious groups and sects before the Revolution, freedom to worship elsewhere flowed from the reality of religious pluralism. Before the Revolution, most colonies supported religious institutions with public funds and discriminated against Catholics, Jews, and even dissenting Protestants when setting criteria for holding office. The deep anti Catholicism of colonial America was weakened by the Revolution. In improving a plan to invade Canada, the Second Continental Congress invited the Catholic inhabitants of Quebec to join Protestant American revolutionaries. Once the Congress formed an alliance with the Catholic nation of France in 1778, and after France proved essential to American victory, Catholics were seen as having a role in the new nation. The end of British rule immediately threw into question the position of the Anglican Church, with some, such as Scots-Irish Virginian farmers, demanding relief from taxes to support it. Many of the leaders of the Revolution considered it vital to avoid the passions and violence that religious differences had inspired in the past. Jefferson, Adams, Madison, and Hamilton believed that religion was necessary as a foundation for public morality, but viewed doctrine through an Enlightenment lens of rationalism and skepticism. They believed in a benevolent creator, but not in supernatural interventions into human affairs. Jefferson wrote a version of the Bible and a life of Jesus that suggested he was not divine and did not perform miracles, and he rejected the biblical account of creation in favor of a prolonged process of geological change. The push to separate church and state united deists like Thomas Jefferson, seeking a wall of separation to protect politics and intellect from religion. It also united evangelical Protestants who sought to protect religion from the corruptions of government. Throughout the new United States, individual states deprived the established churches of their public funding and special legal privileges, and several state constitutions guaranteed the free exercise of religion. Yet religious toleration was far from universal. Every state except New York retained laws barring Jews from voting and holding office, and 7 states prescribed all but Protestants from holding office. Massachusetts retains its congregational establishment well into the 19th century. Catholics, however, gained the right to worship freely throughout the former colonies. In 1779, Jefferson wrote the bill for establishing religious freedom for the Virginia legislature. It was adopted in 1786 after much controversy. Jefferson saw established churches as tyrannical entities that constrained free thought. For this reason, the bill eliminated government financial support for churches. Religious liberty became the model for the revolutionary generation's definition of rights as private matters to be protected from government. The separation of church and state drew a line between public authority and the private sphere. In Jefferson's model of government, individual rights existed as limitations on government power. The Revolution enhanced the diversity of American Christianity and expanded the idea of religious liberty. But even as the separation of church and state allowed various types of religious institutions to flourish, the culture of individual rights of which that separation was a part threatened to undermine church authority. For example, the Moravian Brethren, who emigrated from Germany to North Carolina prior to independence, found that the youth of the community drew upon their new rights to deny traditional practices. Despite such fears, the Revolution did not end religious influence in American society, but rather the reverse. Religious freedom allowed the proliferation of denominations, while established churches found themselves continually challenged by upstarts, like Baptists and Universalists. Today, the debate over the relationship between politics and faith still rages, and more than 1,300 religions are practiced in the United States. Colonial leaders were not hostile to religion. Separation of church and state was not designed as an attack on religiosity in itself. Instead, religious and secular language merged during the struggle for independence, thus creating an outlook some scholars have called Christian republicanism. Most leaders of the American Revolution were devout Christians, and even deists who did not attend an organized church believed that religious values reinforced the morality required for a republic to thrive. Some states continued to bar non-Christians from political office and prosecute people for blasphemy or violating the Sabbath. Revolutionary leaders worried about the character of citizens, especially their virtue, their ability to sacrifice self-interest for the public good. Some promoted free public schools as a way to prepare citizens for a civic life of participation in government required of a free people. So that's the end of our second section.